It's Thursday, the 25th of May, and we're using the tube map, but not to go on the Underground, to go on the Overground, the Orange Line.
So we don't have to do the tube lines as part of all the stations, but the London Overground, the orange line on the tube map, is part of the National Rail Network. So predominantly, we're just spending a day on the Overground today. So we're starting at Clapham, and there is this circular route that goes around London. So the idea is that we'll go in an anti-clockwise direction around the bottom of through South London, up the East London line. Little diversion at Wapping and Rotherhithe. Got to do the Goblin branch today, that's the Gospel to Barking line, and then end up coming up back over the top at Willesden, and we'll dash down and do Imperial Wharf, and then end up at Richmond, Kew Gardens, Gunnersbury Way. So that is our journey for the day. Welcome to Clapham High Street.
This is Clapham High Street.
Brilliant thing about the Overground is that it sort of links a lot of lines together, albeit in a slightly awkward way, because again, classic historical case of separate railway companies building their own lines and their own stations. So to connect from Clapham High Street to Clapham North, which is a handy connection, it's still like a 90 seconds walk along the street. But they didn't always used to appear on the tube map when it was part of the South London Rail Network. People would forget that Clapham High Street existed as a station. So one of the good things about TfL and what the Overground has brought is the tube map has more connectivity. That southbound train there, we just got off the northbound train, it's just come out of that tunnel, a very famous tunnel built by a man called Brunel. It's the first railway tunnel under the Thames in London. So famous, in fact, there's a museum up above dedicated just to it. We're going to go and have a look.
The museum's this way.
So we're standing inside the shaft that I know was originally sunk. In what year did the building start?
1825. They finished the tunnel in 1843. 6 men died in here. We don't know how many died from cholera and typhoid and dysentery. Working inside the tunnel boring machine, men in cages, a wall of planks, and they dig in 4-inch strips, replacing the planks and the poles, and edging forwards, showered in sewage, dodging flames from ignited methane. So it was just a dreadful, dreadful job. But it is actually cutting-edge technology. This is the first tunnel under a river anywhere in the world. This is not just the oldest tunnel in the London Underground. This is the birthplace of the tube.
Now, it was built by Brunel, and one of the things we said off camera a moment ago, there's 4 of them. So could you tell us who the 4 Brunels were?
The famous one, the little man with the big hat and the big cigar and the big chains and the big ideas, is Isambard King de Brunel. His father, Sir Mark Brunel, is the engineer who devised the first tunnel boring machine,
yes,
which was used here. The third Brunel is Henry Mark Brunel, who is the son of Isambard King de Brunel, built Tower Bridge. But the fourth was Sophie, and she is Isambard King de Brunel's elder sister. When they were children, she showed more promise. She showed more aptitude in things mathematical and technical and engineering than he did. At that time, however talented a woman, she is not going to get a job in engineering. So if Isambard King de Brunel is our most famous engineer, I always remind people, especially young women, that Sophie promised to be a better engineer.
Robert, you've been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Come to Wapping, come to Rotherhithe, ride the tunnel, come to the Rotherhithe side, come and have a look at the Brunel Museum. It's fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Made it to Haggerston. It's a lovely, bright, sunny day. Who says that London weather is terrible or British weather is terrible? I need my sunglasses, it's so bright. Got out here because this whole section, Haggerston, Hoxton, one of my favourite sections on the Overground. Not only is it in the open, it's actually elevated because this whole section going right down there, and you can see there's a bridge over a road there. It's part of an old railway. There used to be another London termini called Broad Street, which was right next to London Liverpool Street. They closed it, got demolished in the 1980s. The area now is known as Broadgate. But trains used to come off here down the North London line and run along this section down into Broad Street. And then when they decided to, you know, create the London Overground network, they realised that they could reuse this piece of old railway, this old elevated section of track, and turn it into the Overground. It's just a nice example of reusing an old alignment for a new railway, which is kind of cool.
We've been trying to film for about 5 minutes, but trains just keep coming. They're just so regular on the Overground. They're just
noisy trains.
Keep coming.
Overground, you're too efficient. Stop it. Stop being so frequent.
This is Stratford, one of the best London examples of where lots of different modes of transport and transport services are merged and integrated together. We're on the Overground today, but originally Stratford was just Underground and British Rail. Later came the DLR, then of course the Overground, and most recently TfL Rail itself. The Olympics in 2012 came to this part of London, and Stratford became a very major hub for people travelling to and from the Olympic Stadium. Lots of regeneration has gone on in this area. We have the shopping centre, the Westfield shopping centre behind us as well. This is a really impressive view. As you can see over the train station, you can see the orbital, which was the sculpture in the Olympic Park, which I think is now a giant slide. Why have we never done that, Geoff? And also the Shard. Everywhere you look in London you can see the Shard. And there it is, sneaking into our landscape once again. Of course, don't forget about the other shopping centre in Stratford, the Stratford Centre, which is just on the other side of the station.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? Because we're all like, ooh, Stratford Olympics, regeneration, but were there like local businesses or local people, were there things affected
Absolutely.
by the regeneration of Stratford? Were there any detrimental side effects which people don't think of? Like, is there now a business in Westfield which obliterated someone's local business out here? I'm guessing it could have caused upset as well as progress.
That was my first TfL Rail experience. We were at Forest Gate, and there is a lot of building work going on, all part of Crossrail. Clearly a new lift going in over there. They've taken down part of what I assume was a passenger bridge at one point, and the temporary footbridge over there, the scaffolded one, seems to suggest that a new footbridge is coming as well. Forest Gate is going to look very different.
We're actually going to come back and do TfL Rail, what will become Crossrail properly. Maybe next week we're going to do the whole of that line in one stretch. We just had to ride between Stratford and where did we go? Forest Gate.
Yes.
Because we wanted to walk up the road here, literally 200 metres to Wanstead Park to get back on the Overground. In fact, that's the train we want.
The next station is Walthamstow Queens Road.
busy. Wow. What time is it? Is it rush hour? Is it rush?
5:30.
It's rush hour. Okay, let's go.
This is Gospel Oak.
I think when people are desperate to get a seat and they don't let you off, they really want to. Maybe they've got a long journey, maybe they go all the way back, but they don't let you off there.
This line, it's going to be really handy when it goes to 4 cars rather than 2. Straight away at Gospel Oak, it's full. One of my favourite books about the railways, I've spoken about this before I think, there's a guy called Ian Marchant who wrote a book called Parallel Lines, and he used to live on what was then the North London line near Camden Town. There's a brilliant bit in that book where basically he predicted the future, and he went, this railway line could be brilliant, because back then it suffered from a lack of investment, there were no shelters, there was no lighting, the service was at one stage just 2 trains an hour, and he basically said, look, if somebody just came in and, you know, gave the stations a lick of paint, you know, cleaned it up, improved better lighting, improved the frequency of the trains, more people would come. And that's exactly what TfL did brilliantly. You know, they've given it this whole orange identity. The trains are every 10 to 15 minutes depending what line you're on. So they've got it to a point where it's now really popular. All the trains we've been on today, even off-peak, have been quite busy. Loads of people in London are using the Overground, and I think it's a great success story for how good a railway can be if the company bothered to invest money in it and say, look, here's a railway, come and use it. Basically, I'm a little bit in love with the Overground. We're at Chelsea Harbour Station. Nah, that's a lie, we're at Imperial Wharf Station, but when it was being built, because it's a relatively new station on the Overground, Imperial Wharf, it was almost called, or it was codenamed, I think in the ticketing system, somewhere it's still labelled as Chelsea Harbour. After TfL had taken over line and upgraded it, this was never a stop back in the old Silverlink days, and the development of the area, there's some like posh houses and stuff around here, the whole area has basically seen a lot of redevelopment. There was a case for a new station to be built, and again it's one of those brilliant cases where the first few years it was open, it was only getting like 1 million or so passengers a year, but in last year's Office of Railroad Statistics, 2015 to 16, that had then doubled, like 3 million people per year were using this station. So again, for me, it's another great example of how if you build it, they will come.
As you're travelling on the Overground, it can seem like a very urban environment, but all across London are lots of amazing parks. In East London you have Victoria Park and also the Olympic Park, or now Queen Elizabeth Park, and here in West London, only a few short minutes from the station, is Richmond Park. Actually, I decided to get the bus. We're just coming up to Richmond Park Gate, which will be the way in to the park itself. I used to live not very far from Richmond Park, and there's just this moment as you come through the gate and it changes from being busy, this urban London, to a very wonderful, picturesque park. I hope we see some deer. I think there are some deer over there. Wow. That is absolutely incredible. And there are ducks.
The acoustics are wonderful.
Should we do this? You gonna do it?
Oh, sole mio.
Can I have a go?
Yeah, do Nis and Dorma.
No, I was gonna go, all the stations. It's a good reverb.